Father Miron asked me to talk about our liturgy. This is the way that we worship on Sundays and other church holidays. I think for someone who is new to the experience of the Byzantine Rite, there are a couple of things that will immediately be obvious and very different. One thing is that the service is sung almost entirely, and at times the service is a dialogue between the priest and the people, and at other times the service is something of a duet. The priest is praying and the people are singing. Another thing that I think you will notice is the very distinctive way that the church is laid out, and the presence of icons around the walls, and there are also icons on the icon screen. And a theologian by the name of Pavel Florensky once said that if you take down the icon screen, the altar will disappear. The icon screen is there so that we can see and understand what is really going on. So there's not a priest behind the icon screen, reading from a book, dressed in funny clothes, waving a censer around, and so forth. What's important is what Christ is doing in the liturgy. Our liturgy comes from Jesus, and also from the Holy Spirit, who brought it to the apostles after Pentecost. It was handed down from the apostles and comes to us through the Church of Constantinople, which evangelized the parts of Europe that we come from. So for those of you who are Roman Catholics, your liturgy comes from Rome, and our liturgy comes from Constantinople. So it's different. Now we see the liturgy as something that is given to us, that comes down to us from the apostles. This is the way that God has provided for us to participate in the saving work of Jesus. The liturgy presents the whole of salvation history for us today, so that our community can participate just as the apostles did, and the disciples of Jesus when he walked the earth. So when we do the liturgy on Sundays and throughout the year, we're living through the gospel, not just learning about something that happened 2,000 years ago. For example, the gospel is proclaimed with a great deal of formality. We stand, the gospel is chanted. Why do we deal with someone reading out of a book in such a formal way? Well, what's really happening is that Christ is with us, speaking, proclaiming the gospel in our presence through the words of the priest. And so we stand to listen to the gospel, to hear it from his lips. And I think that that element of formality and structure to the liturgy is very important to us. There's some things that you might find perhaps missing from the service. The liturgy is not designed, it's not intended to create certain feelings in us. Now, for the most part, those of us who have lived with the liturgy from childhood have strong feelings. We feel God's presence when we're in the church. We feel God's presence because we've lived with the liturgy, which is the way that God has willed for us to feel his presence and to be with him. The liturgy is how Jesus is with us in the most concrete and human fashion. The other thing is that our service is not heavy on instruction. It's not really a Bible study. Although we learn a great deal about our faith through the liturgy, it's not intended so much to teach as to celebrate the truths together. Our music is very distinctive. Our people know it. We sing the liturgy together with the assistance of a cantor or the choir. And this adds to the sense of community because the liturgy is really our work together. The priest has a role, the people have a role. We sing the liturgy, we sing it because it's come down to us. It's not something that we create or manipulate, but it's a gift from God.